According to a General Hospital update for Thursday, June 26, Sonny Corinthos will speak with Carly Spencer about his decision to refuse Jen Sidwell's offer for his business. Carly may understand why, but she will also be concerned by Sidwell's threat and the devastation it could cause for those they care about. While Sonny comforts Carly, Sidwell will be yelling commands at Ezra Boyle. When Ezra tries to push back on something, Sidwell makes it obvious that he is in charge. Ezra will be expected to respond with appreciation and a grin, regardless of what Sidwell asks of him. Sidwell will provide updates on some major news, most likely leaving Ezra uneasy with his dark remarks. It appears that Sidwell will be on Lulu Spencer's mind when she speaks with Lucas Jones. Since Lucas is dating Sidwell's son, Lulu will obviously want to know how close Marco Rios is to his father. Marco, on the other hand, will be focused on his mother in Thursday's episode of General Hospital. Natalia Ramirez appears to be ready to say goodbye to Marco now that she has accepted Sonny's offer to start a new life in Belize. Marco was hoping to move forward with the legal settlement he planned, so he'll be furious when he discovers Sonny has talked Natalia into leaving the country instead. Of course, Natalia hasn't really left yet. Because Sonny is so convinced that everything will work out, there's a significant probability his plan is about to fail. While Marco strives to sway Natalia's thinking, Dante Falconeri will experience a shift in perspective. Although Dante previously criticized Jason Morgan's parenting abilities, he will apparently give him some leeway now. Jason definitely adores Danny Morgan, and has been doing his best ever since Sam McCall met his untimely demise. Danny has had some crazy outbursts here and there, but he's just your typical teen. Jason may not always make parenting decisions that Dante agrees with, but they may share some common ground. Jason appears to have some counsel for Dante regarding Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Jason understands the importance of spending quality time with his children, so he may encourage Dante to concentrate solely on the present and future. Gio has been pushing Dante away, but Lulu may make another attempt to reach him on Thursday's episode. Because Brooklyn Quartermain will encounter an upsetting sight, she may come across Lulu cuddling Gio or something along those lines. Lulu is acting almost motherly around Gio these days, so Brooklyn may rip into her soon. On a more positive side, Sasha Gilmore Corbin will have a huge favor to ask Felicia Scorpio. Jason has already accepted to be Daisy's godfather, so Felicia may receive a godmother request next. According to General Hospital teasers, Felicia may accept the honor and commit to support Daisy during her christening before the end of the week. Sonny Corinthos had taken numerous dangerous actions in his life. He had negotiated mafia conflicts, concealed secrets that would destroy families, and defended those he loved with a zeal few could match. But his latest strategy, which involved secretly planning a method for Natalia Ramirez to flee Port Charles with his help, was far more personal. It wasn't just about avoiding danger. It was about protecting someone innocent from the storm that Sonny could see gathering in the distance. And in classic Corinthos form, he had not given anyone the whole truth. Not Nina, Dante, or Natalia herself. Natalia has recently struggled under the microscope. Her connection with Blaze made headlines after certain members of the press learned of the singer's personal life. Natalia, Blaze's mother, had become an unwanted icon in a culture war she refused to participate in. The public pressure had intensified tenfold, following her emotional reaction to Blaze's announcement. Although she claimed to be doing better, accepting and evolving, Sonny could see the toll it was taking. Natalia's composed demeanor belied her vulnerability. The threats she got were not empty. Some of them were ugly, targeted, and unrelenting. He understood from experience how quickly words might become acts. So he started laying the groundwork. Sonny had connections in Belize, a little house off the usual route, a quiet staff dedicated just to him, and enough resources to help Natalia start afresh, if that was what she desired. He offered it as a haven, not an exile. He never used the words witness protection or vanishing act, but the message was clear. If she wanted to be out of the public eye, this was her chance. Natalia had hesitated, as one would expect. She didn't want to depart Blaze in the middle of her tour, especially since things were already strained. Blaze had spent months proving to her mother that her lifestyle did not alter her soul. She didn't want to wake up one morning and discover Natalia had vanished without a word. Sonny, on the other hand, insisted that if Natalia departed, He would ensure that Blaze understood the truth, that her mother had done it for peace, not shame. Natalia had been persuaded enough to consider it. But Sonny's plan began to collapse before it even left the pier. Brooklyn Quartermain arrived first. Brooklyn hadn't been searching for trouble when she came across the scene. She had gone to the dock expecting a peaceful walk after a hectic meeting at Deception. Her thoughts had been racing, not only about work, but also about her family, her changing dynamic with Chase, the tension between Lois and Tracy, and the persistent suspicion that someone was always harboring secrets in Port Charles. She was turning the corner near the warehouse district when she saw Sonny. It wasn't unusual to find him down there. After all, he owned the vast majority of the shoreline. It was rare to see Natalia emerge off one of his private boats, pale and terrified. Brooklyn paused in her tracks. Natalia, of all persons, appeared to be avoiding attention. Her big coat, sunglasses, and constant glance over her shoulder told Brooklyn everything she needed to know. She wasn't simply going for a ride. Something was going on and Sonny was in the middle of it. Brooklyn's stomach twisted. Sonny spotted her moments afterward. Their gazes met, and she wondered if he was going to approach her. Instead, he turned, muttered to one of his guards, and led Natalia down the dock to a waiting SUV. Brooklyn was no stranger to secrets. She had kept her fair share. But what she saw disturbed her in ways she couldn't understand. Natalia was not a mobster or someone who had been toughened by the world. She was a mother terrified and clearly unsure of what she was doing. And Sonny's presence created an extra dimension of danger that Brooklyn couldn't ignore. She tried to ignore it, but the vision tormented her. Brooklyn returned to the Quartermain estate and walked the living room, mentally repeating the scene. Chase sensed her distraction and pressed for explanations, but she dismissed him. This was more than simply a gut sensation. It was a warning signal. Something told her that whatever Sonny had planned would blow up in everyone's faces. And it did. The next day, Blaze arrived at Brooklyn's workplace frantic. Her mother had left a cryptic message that morning. "I'm fine, I just need some time. Don't worry." Blaze hadn't been able to contact her since. The phone was off. No social media, no forwarding address, and no backup plan. Just silence. Brooklyn's stomach sank. Blaze didn't realize it yet, but Brooklyn did. Natalia had departed. She had vanished while Sonny was protecting her, and no one else seemed to have any idea where she was. "Had your mother mentioned anything about Belize?" Brooklyn inquired cautiously. Blaze blinked. "What? No. Why would she travel there?" Brooklyn attempted to cover. "Just wondering if she mentioned any vacations. You know how she enjoys tropical destinations." But Blaze didn't buy it. Her eyes narrowed. "Why would you mention Belize?" Brooklyn hesitated, and then the truth emerged. "Not all of it, but enough. I saw her yesterday. With Sonny. It appeared she was leaving town." Blaze's face became pallid. "She didn't say anything to me. I think Sonny convinced her it was the right move," Brooklyn added. "To protect you." Blaze's expression stiffened. "I did not ask him to defend me. And I did not ask him to take my mother away." That's when Brooklyn noticed it. The fire in Blaze's eyes. The treachery. Blaze's hands clenched and unclenched at her side. She had worked so hard to create something fresh with Natalia, to forgive and bridge the gap between their lives. And suddenly the tiny connection had been severed. All because Sonny believed he knew best. Blaze stormed out in tears and wrath, determined to find her mother. Brooklyn attempted to pursue her but was unsuccessful. The damage was done. Brooklyn turned her rage on Sonny. She stormed into his apartment unexpectedly later that evening, fists clenched and voice shaking from wrath. "What the heck have you done?" Sonny did not flinch. He quietly poured himself a glass and turned to face her. "I did what I had to do," he replied calmly. "Natalia was in danger. I gave her a way out." "You mean you pushed her out?" Brooklyn yelled. "You took a mother away from her daughter without even telling her. She agreed to it. Under pressure. She had no idea what she was heading into. She's not made for this world, Sonny. You terrified her." Sonny's eyes darkened. "You don't know what you're talking about." Brooklyn moved closer, her voice trembling. "You constantly believe you know best. You play God with people's lives and pretend you're the only one who sees the big picture. But you don't. You just do collateral damage and walk away as if it's not your problem. That stung. Sonny rarely allowed words to affect him, but Brooke Lynn's rage was genuine. Maybe he didn't manage it properly. Perhaps he acted out of desperation, not wisdom. However, he couldn't undo anything now. Brooke Lynn departed without saying anything else, shutting the door behind her. Things got progressively worse over the next 3 days. Blaze went public, holding a press conference to discuss her mother's absence. She did not identify Sonny, but she alluded to powerful figures who believed they were protecting people while in reality they were dominating them. The media seized upon it. Rumors spread. Was Natalia in danger? Had she been forcibly removed from town? Suddenly, Sonny was embroiled in a dispute he couldn't control. The pressure increased not just from the press but also from his own entourage. Nina was enraged when she discovered he had made another significant decision behind her back, this time involving her best friend. Dante also questioned him, wondering what type of precedent this created. Even Carly, who has kept her distance these days, stopped by to say something pointed. "You've forgotten what family means." Sonny did not answer to any of them. He believed he was doing the correct thing. But the aftermath had caused him to doubt everything. Meanwhile, Brooke Lynn kept digging. She contacted Spinelli, who confirmed Natalia's leaving had not been clean. The documentation was rushed. Sonny's planned path had been intercepted and redirected twice, and Natalia had disappeared sooner than predicted. In other words, she wasn't in Belize. Nobody knew where she was now. That horrified everyone, even Sonny. If Natalia had gone rogue, she might have been apprehended by those threatening her. Or worse, someone else may have intercepted her, seeking leverage against Sonny or Blaze. His move, intended to protect, had become the one thing that threatened her most. And Brooke Lynn would not let him forget it. She confronted him one more time on the docks, where it all began. "This isn't just about Natalia," she explained. "This is about your inability to let go. You lost control of Nina and Michael, and now you're attempting to protect Blaze as if she were one of your own." Sonny glanced at her with weariness. "I care for her. I care about all of you." "No," Brooke Lynn snapped. "You value control. You call it protection, but it isn't. It is manipulation. And this time someone may pay with their life." Sonny didn't respond. He simply glanced out at the ocean, where the lights of the city danced across the surface. Natalia was alone out there because of him, and he didn't know how to solve it. Brooke Lynn walked away. This time she did not glance back. General Hospital spoilers state that, despite her confidence that Michael Corinthos is an excellent father, Sasha Gilmore Corbin is set about raising their kid on her own. Sasha has witnessed firsthand how much Michael already adores Daisy, but this has not changed her opinion. At this point in the story, Michael has no custody rights over Daisy. In fact, Michael's name is not even on the birth certificate since that is how Sasha wants it. We get that Michael is trying to be a good guy and appreciate what Sasha believes is best, but what about what he wants? Is Sasha's quest for single motherhood truly fair to Michael? Many GH fans wonder if Sasha is wrong to deny Michael the full fatherhood experience with Daisy. Michael would undoubtedly like to co-parent with Sasha and be a true father to their baby child. Of course, Sasha is understandably concerned about Daisy's connections to the Quartermain and Corinthos families. The chaotic QS can be merciless, and the Corinthos name has an unquestionably hazardous mob association. The difficulty is that Sasha lives beneath the Quartermain roof and previously had Sonny Corinthos' right-hand man, Jason Morgan, posing as her child's father. Plus, the public is already aware of Daisy's paternity, so no foes will be deterred. Daisy may not carry the surnames Quartermain or Corinthos, but she is nonetheless related to both clans. In other words, Sasha's rationale has never been particularly clear. Sometimes it seemed that the GH writers were unsure of how to make this story work. Whatever the situation, Sasha has a great relationship with Michael, and knows he's a terrific father to Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Michael is more than eager to step up for his third child, so it makes no sense to deny Daisy the complete daddy experience. Sasha insisted Daisy would recognize Michael as her father, but this is not the same as having a hands-on father who is actively involved in her life. Allowing Michael to fully participate appears to benefit all parties concerned. Bottom line, Michael helped make this little one and should have a voice in where it goes from here. Will Michael beg for more? Could Michael and Sasha's eventual romantic reunion drive them toward forming a family? General Hospital spoilers suggest that some Daisy-related twists and turns are still in store, so stay tuned for updates on any major developments. Sasha had experienced more than most people could imagine. Her life began a tumultuous mix of deception, atonement, loss, and survival the moment she arrived in Port Charles. But perhaps nothing influenced her more than the quiet, hidden battle she was now fighting, one centered on personal defense rather than public controversy. Her instincts had changed considerably since she became a mother again. And now everything she did revolved around her son. Every decision, every limit, and every restless night served a purpose. But that mission, no matter how firmly anchored in love, was beginning to raise questions. The rumors started innocently enough. After it was revealed that baby Liam, now known as Daisy by those closest to Sasha, had survived a terrifying baby switch plan and been reunited with Sasha, suspicions about his paternity arose. Not Brando, his biological father, who died tragically before the truth was revealed, but the guy who had stood by Sasha through the harrowing weeks of solving the riddle. The man who had driven Sasha to hospitals, discovered forgeries, stood vigil when she was too frail to do so herself, and loved her through the fire. Mike Corinthos. Their bond had been delayed, unplanned, and difficult. Michael had his own entanglements with Willow, his children, and the never-ending family drama that surrounded the Corinthos name. But, during Sasha's experience, their friendship grew into something neither of them had anticipated. There was no romance, at least not in the traditional sense. Nonetheless, there was trust. There was understanding. And over time, a form of closeness emerged from shared trauma and passionate loyalty. Michael was present when Liam, Daisy, was verified as Sasha's biological son and the infant was brought home. Not in a headline-grabbing fashion, not with assertions or claims, but just by being present. Quietly. Dependably. He offered assistance when she needed it and stayed away when she didn't. He acknowledged her space, her fear, and the complexities of what she had experienced. But this wasn't enough for everyone. Whispers resorted to supposition. Speculation turned to concern. People quickly began to question Sasha, some gently, others more harshly, about why she wasn't allowing Michael to play a more active role in Daisy's life. After all, wasn't he the one who helped save him? Daisy had already recognized his voice, perfume, and the feel of his arms. Why was Sasha keeping a man who had always showed love and loyalty at arm's length when it came to the most important thing? Outsiders interpreted it as intransigence, or fear, or even guilt. But for Sasha it was something much more personal. Something entrenched deep in the portion of her heart that had been shattered, mended, and is now guarded with unwavering ferocity. She adored Michael. Not romantically, at least not in the usual sense. But she loved him for who he was to her, for what he had done for Liam, and for never expecting anything in return. That was the problem. He never asked. And the stillness allowed Sasha to believe she did not owe anyone an explanation. But the truth was that Michael wanted to be there. He initially tried to hide it out of respect. He'd played the supportive buddy, the silent confidant, and the unassuming guardian. However, over time, his emotions became more difficult to conceal. He was not amorous or possessive. He was simply driven by a desire to protect Liam and be a meaningful part of his life. And it wasn't only about Liam. It was about Brando. About Sasha's sadness. About Michael's personal journey through fatherhood and loss. He has loved and lost in ways that continue to torment him. He saw Liam as a second chance. Not to make up for what he'd lost, but to do something right and meaningful. Michael did not resist when Sasha began to limit his visits. He backed away just like he always did. But he sensed it. The shift. The invisible wall rising between them. He didn't understand why. Willow didn't either. She had long accepted and even supported Michael's tight relationship with Sasha. But now she realized how it impacted him. He returned home more disturbed, more silent, as if he was carrying an unshakable shame. She knew Michael wouldn't confront Sasha. He would never demand anything, not even clarity. However, it was eating at him. Willow politely asked Sasha over coffee. "Do you think Michael has done anything wrong?" she inquired gently. Sasha blinked. "No. Obviously not. So why are you pulling away?" Sasha did not respond immediately. She stared down at her cup, her fingers quivering slightly. She didn't enjoy justifying herself. Not because she was defensive, but because the instant she began discussing it, the floodgates erupted. "I'm not pulling away," she finally said. "I'm protecting him." Willow furrowed her brow. "From what?" "From this," Sasha muttered. "This is from me. From Liam. From the storm that always appears to follow me." Willow did not argue. She just waited. Sasha persisted, going against her instincts. "Michael has only helped me. He was present while nobody else was. He saw me at my worst and never turned away. But I can't let him plan my future around Liam, when I have no idea what the next 6 months will be like. I barely sleep. I am still in therapy. I have flashbacks. And every time I look at my son, I realize what was almost taken away from me." Willow stretched across the table to take her hand. "But don't you suppose Michael sees all of this and decides to stay anyway?" Sasha's eyes flooded with tears. "That's what scares me. Because that's what everything came down to. Fear. Not about Michael, love, or even heartbreak. However, reliance exists. Of allowing herself to believe that someone could help bear the responsibility of raising a kid who was born out of trauma and returned from the dead, only to lose him one day. Not to death, but to life's problems. What if Michael decides later that it's too much? What if he walks away? Sasha didn't believe she could withstand another loss like that. So she did what she had always done when she was terrified. The story was within her control. She kept her world tiny. She persuaded herself it was for the best. But people were talking. Lucy, ever the meddler, mentioned it in passing. "You know, I love Sasha like a daughter. But sometimes I think she forgets what a gift support can be." Even Carly, who had kept a polite distance from the problem, gently urged Michael. "If you feel you're being shut out, you should say something. You have every right to." But Michael did not. Because he still believed Sasha needed to make that decision on her own. That if he forced the topic, it would just disrupt the delicate balance they had achieved. So he waited. And I watched. And hoped. Meanwhile, Sasha noticed how quiet the home became when Michael stopped showing up. When Liam, Daisy, heard a familiar voice on the phone, he looked toward the door but couldn't see who was behind it. And how lonely it felt to have everything she strived for, but no one to share it with. The tipping point occurred on a gloomy Tuesday afternoon. Liam had a cold. Nothing major, but enough to keep Sasha awake for 2 nights straight. She hadn't eaten, washed, or changed out of the clothing she'd put on in a frenzy at 3 a.m. She was fatigued. And as she hugged Liam in her arms and he refused to stop screaming, she felt herself sinking. Only a little. She placed him in the crib, went into the kitchen, and sobbed. Not too loud. She heard deep, piercing cries that rocked her shoulders and made her feel as if she was floating outside her body. Her phone vibrated at that moment. "Michael. Just a text. Hey, just thinking about you too. Do you need anything?" She stared at the message for what seemed like hours. Then, without thinking, she called him. He arrived within minutes. He held Liam as Sasha took a shower. He made tea. He said nothing. He just stayed. When Liam eventually fell asleep, Sasha glanced at Michael and uttered something she had never allowed herself to say before. "I'm not sure how to let someone love us. But I want to learn." Michael did not rush into making promises. He did not lecture, cry, or assert anything. He only wanted to. According to General Hospital spoilers, fans have been hoping for Spencer Cassidy's eventual return, since he fell into the Seine. Spencer was assumed dead in early 2024, but his body was never found. That gives some optimism that Spencer will return one day, especially because his turtle dove was seen washing up on shore around the time he left. Of course, Trina Robinson mourned the loss but eventually found a way to go on with Kai Taylor. Although Kai and Trina form a cute couple, their passion is not near as intense as her romance with Spencer. In reality, the show demonstrated why Spencer Cassidy needs to return to canvas as soon as possible. Kai deceived Trina by leaking information about her father to Drew Kane. Curtis Ashford is trying to get Jacinda back and convince her that Drew willingly took those pills. Rather than safeguarding Trina and her family, Kai opted to warn Drew and prioritize his needs. It's difficult to envision Spencer backstabbing Trina in this position. In fact, it's difficult to envision Spencer in this circumstance at all, because he would never allow someone like Drew corrupt him. Kai is proving that Spencer was the better love interest, but Trina understands this deep within. Spencer and Trina's relationship was presented by GH writers as a once-in-a-lifetime love, thus no one will ever be able to match it. Trina's romance with Kai lacks the depth that her romance with Spencer did, largely because their story revolves around football, surgery, and other topics that many people are uninterested in. Kai's latest betrayal doesn't help matters because it's yet another example of how he falls short as a love interest. Trina and Kai may be adorable together, but that is insufficient to make them a long-term couple worth rooting for. Should the show go ahead with recasting Spencer and getting him back on canvas as soon as possible? Trina and Spencer deserve another chapter at some time, so let's hope the GH writers get it done. General Hospital spoilers suggest Trina may receive updates on some stunning Spencer news in the future, so keep tuned. For all of the chaos, danger, and emotional upheaval that define life in Port Charles, one thing is constant. Characters come and go, but their presence is never forgotten, especially when their absence is felt throughout every plotline. That has recently been the case with Spencer Cassadine, whose departure created an untenable void. As the plots involving Trina, Esme, Ava, and the Cassadine heritage develop, General Hospital has made one thing clear. Spencer is not only missed but also needed. Desperately. And subsequent developments have only highlighted how important his reappearance is to the show's emotional and narrative structure. Spencer was never a standard hero. He was complex, terribly flawed, reckless and arrogant, qualities passed down through generations of Cassadine males. But what distinguished him was his heart. Spencer, despite his sharp edges and aristocratic posturing, was always trying to do better, to love madly, and to rectify the wrongs he inherited. Even when he faltered, as he sometimes did, there was something alluring about his desire to strive for something bigger than himself. His love for Trina was proof of that. His complex loyalty to Nicholas was also evident. And now, with Trina struggling in his absence and Ava once again in danger from the Cassadine family, Spencer's absence feels like a gaping wound in Port Charles's heart. Trina Robinson has become more independent, self-assured, and resilient in the months since Spencer's disappearance. She's immersed herself in school, relied on her friends, and attempted to silently pick up the pieces of her wounded heart. But her silence speaks volumes. There's a melancholy underlying her determination, a silent vacuum where Spencer once was. When she stands at the pier or goes to the gallery alone, it is apparent that her heart has not moved on. She may not talk about him, but the agony remains, and no one has quite replaced the void Spencer left behind. That matters. Not only does Trina deserve happiness, but their love story is one of the few that combines fire with vulnerability. Trina pulled out the best in Spencer by challenging, loving, and grounding him. Spencer could have taken a darker turn if it hadn't been for her. And without him, Trina appears less complete. Their deep bond produced substantial stakes. Their relationship was gained through heartache, misunderstanding, and eventual reconciliation. That kind of connection cannot be created, and the longer Spencer is absent, the more it threatens to fade into obscurity rather than be a genuine, breathing part of the program. Spencer's absence has a negative impact on more than simply Trina. Esme Prince's return to the canvas has reawakened spirits that were never truly exorcised. Her memory may be lost, but her impact endures. Esme remains the greatest question mark in the room. Is she really reformed? Is her memory loss legit? Is the old Esme biding her time, waiting to strike again? Without Spencer to challenge her, test her, and protect those she previously attempted to destroy, the dynamic feels incomplete. Spencer's presence always lent urgency to the Esme plot. His revulsion, guilt, and desire to make her accountable for her actions deepened his own journey. He did not simply despise her. He blamed himself for allowing her into his life in the first place. He sought justice not only for Trina, but also for himself. And for all her malice, Esme was singularly fixated on Spencer. Their toxic dynamic was a powder keg that kept spectators engaged. Now that Esme is lurking on the outskirts of Port Charles once more, the one person who has ever truly comprehended the depravity she is capable of is not present to stop her, or to ensure that justice is ultimately served.